Where's yours?
Okay, well, I figured I'd just do it as years pass and just go through all the different lines. I don't know if there's any particular order you want me to go through, but I'll start with the Sheriff's Office budget. Overall, as far as the statement goes, I want to say that all of our budgets, with a minor increase in 911, was flat. We moved money within our budget if we needed to increase certain areas, but I'll go through and explain all that. So I don't think you want me to go line by line, do you?
No.
So the Sheriff's Office budget, as you can see, it's been presented. We discussed it with Mr. Stanley and staff. The Sheriff's Office budget is actually a 9.32% increase. However, 9.27% of that is due to the budget or the salary increases, and I'll refer throughout this budget as CDP as a career development program. And then 0.05% is an increase with victim witness and expense, but we'll get reimbursed for that line item. So there's actually no increase operationally or capital in all these budgets. It is personnel due to the last year's approval of the CDP and the salary increases. Again, we moved money within that budget because we had an increase in certain areas, but we were able to decrease in certain areas. So we tried to maintain a zero with the exception of the salary increases. So everything's personnel. Is there any questions on the Sheriff's Office?
Anything?
I just have one question, and I don't know where it's in here. I've been asked this. Something about horses? You have something in your budget for horses?
Where's that coming from?
I don't know. They asked me
There's nothing in my budget about horses.
You don't add horses.
He has horses at his house, but
My
they're
wife
not the
has
sheriff's
horses.
office.
There's nothing in my budget about horses, but we had a horse
trailer.
mounted. We had a stock trailer. We have a horse mounted patrol back in the early 2000s.
Okay.
But they were all personally owned horses. Everything was paid for by the employee. So I don't know where
Okay,
that-
county monies,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So there's nothing in my budget about horses.
Okay. Thank you.
You mark that one off.
I marked that.
Mark,
I can't even remember who asked
yeah,
it.
why don't you mark that rumor? Rumor off. Any other questions?
Well, the career development, does that start
Started January 1st.
January? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. For the half a year, and then of course, all this will be the full year
Right.
next year.
Is there anything in the budget about cattle or pigs?
Well, there kind of is, but that's in animal control about what it costs us to wrangle up these things. But anyway, anything else, Sheriff's Office? 911, we again have increases and decreases. The one in particular is the equipment service contract. That was an increase of $9,000 for various reasons listed there. However, through computer software, we were able to decrease almost $7,500. So when it comes to the 911 budget, it's a 1.86% increase, but 1.75% of it is due to the salary increases in the CDP implementation. So there was a minor increase in that, I think a 0.11%. As I'm sure every department, everything has to deal with it. Those service contracts and those software things are just an evil that you have to have. So we're hoping that, of course, not much is in here about anything to do with the radio system, because obviously we haven't implemented that yet. So we think we have that fairly squared away, but who knows what might come around once that finally gets implemented.
You haven't implemented the radio system?
Okay.
That's all paid for though, right?
One of the issues we've got to deal with is the installation of a generator at the Mass Mountain Road Tower. Generator has 6 week lead time. We're about 4 or 5 weeks, I think, into that. So once that generator is installed, we can put our antenna up and have it running. The generator is there for backup when you lose electricity.
Any questions on 911? I'll move to court services. Again, the court services line item, there's no changes across the board, exception of personnel. It's a 4.46% total increase. again, due to the salary increases in the CDP implementation. We utilize a lot of part-time in that budget to manage the courthouse security, systems and all those kind of things in the court holding, which has worked out pretty good. It's hard to get staff, but it's worked out pretty good. Any questions on the courts?
But we just recently approved the whole system to be renovated, right? At the courthouse?
I think Brandy has been working on through Building and Grounds, upgrading the camera system and such. It's way overdue, but we tried to put it off. Mr. Childers and I worked on it back when we built the public safety building to try to incorporate certain things, but the price was just astronomical back then from that vendor. But I think
But
Brandy,
that's in the works, that's
Brandon-
paid for and we're doing it, right?
You all approved it, it's been ordered, so
Yeah.
now we just gotta wait for the cameras.
but that all comes out of the Building and Grounds, not my budget. Okay,
School resource?
I can jump to that. School resource. Again, this is a new budget, new separate budget. Everything's been broken out, but that is a 4.99% increase, and again, all of that's due to the salary increases in the CDP implementation. We think we got a pretty good handle on that in the sense of it's a budget that's new. The staffing has been hired. They've graduated from school and they're in FTO. We're hoping that come maybe March or so, they'll be released from the FTO program. We're still down one. We had one deputy leave and go to another county. Nothing to do with money, just where she was from.
It's good for the people to understand, $730,272 for school resource officers. And 10 years ago, or even in the past few years, that wasn't there. But we need it.
Who would have thought? And again, I appreciate county admins and this board's due diligence, because we're far ahead of the curve of a lot of jurisdictions that don't have school resource officers in all their schools. So
We care about our kids.
Well, it's the thing you have to do.
Okay.
There's nothing with SRO. I'll jump to animal control. That is again, no changes except for personnel. It's a 3.51% increase, or salary increase in the CDP program. So all the budgets combined as I do, it's a 6.91% increase. Again, all because of except for 0.11% due to CDP increase, which we, and so if I can say for my staff, we appreciate you all doing that and starting this CDP program. I think it'll help us in retention and recruitment as years go on, or help somebody as years go on, maintain staff. And this is the first time I can remember in the last 4 years, we're pretty much up to full staff. We're short a couple positions, but not 8 like we used to be.
You train them and they go somewhere else for more.
True, yep, and sometimes they leave for whatever reason, but we don't want them to leave because they don't see no future financially.
Well, and we were, I think before you came in, we were discussing the career advancement.
That's why you was talking CDP.
Yeah, it hasn't
Yeah.
been implemented yet,
Yes,
Yeah.
but hadn't been funded.
yes.
You funded it.
Yeah,
That
it's
was part
Funded
of
it,
it,
but,
yeah.
but you haven't,
It started
January
then.
1st.
January 1st.
It was funded last year by the budget increase. Half cent went to SRO, half cent went to the career development program, which was approved.
Okay,
by
so it
last
is in
year.
effect now.
It's in effect January 1st of this past January.
Sheriff, it's gotta feel good to know that you're gonna retire leaving your department in excellent condition.
It does feel good that we're headed in the right direction, been headed in the right direction, and hopefully whoever the next sheriff is will continue that. But I gotta say that even though some members of this board have changed, the continuity and consistency of the county administration and finance and HR and you all has been a teamwork effort, because I can ask for everything I want to ask for, but if you all don't believe what I'm saying, it doesn't help me. You see too many jurisdictions out there that battle too much. So it's been a group effort, and I appreciate everything that you all have done for my office and for the county in general. And you know, this will be my last budget presentation, so.
You're smiling now.
But But I may come back and sit in the public hearing someday. You know, who knows?
That's fine.
It'll be more fun then.
Absolutely. No, I'm enjoying what I'm doing now, so that's fine. Any questions about the budget or comments, concerns?
No, we would be in real good shape if we didn't have to man the schools.
Yeah, you know, there I wouldn't say we were behind the curve. They offered money out there for grants and that kind of stuff. I didn't think we were going to get too many because we have several SROs prior to. Most of that money went to schools that didn't have any. Always looking into the you know, the laws are changing, those kind of things about school security officers. Down the road, if we start to lose any folks for the school system, that may be an option for to look at school security. They're actually sworn law enforcement, hired by the sheriff, certified by the sheriff, but they might be a retired law enforcement officer. So as time goes on and start to look at the budget and start to look at means of funding it, there's options out there down the road that the laws, legislation changes some of them. It'll give the sheriffs the opportunity to hire part-timers or such to help offset some of that school security.
Sheriff, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
High five.
Not yet.
He's smiling, that's good.
Maybe a couple months.
If we're ahead of schedule, if we could, let's go to mine, which is budget 14. Try to make up some time. 14. So the first one there is the Board of Supervisors. Obviously, I know the two big things that have adjusted a little bit. One has been professional services, and bumping from 90 to 95,000 won't touch it. Of course, this year we're using costs with the EDA, and we eventually hope to recoup some of that cost, if not all of it. But just in general, that line usually covers things like our audit. That's one of the biggest expenses out of that, or any outside legal representation. The other item is delinquent taxes, and we haven't been budgeting, but as you can see, last year we spent about $28,000. Most of that is with the firm TACS. We're having to pay for title work and stuff up front of the tax sales. The other contract with Mr. Pond, he basically takes on the cost and then deducts it out of the sale at the end. But we are having to front some of the delinquent tax costs there.
Does it equal out in the end?
I think they, for the most part, he may be a little more cost effective than TACS, but you know, we can do a little more analyzation of that. I think the good thing is that with the two firms, we're putting a little bit more attention to.
We're getting better than we were with just one.
We are, and we're obviously we've had a lot more sale. I think at the end of the day, it's getting stuff off the tax rolls is important.
On the tax, and then putting it on the tax.
Off and back on.
Yeah.
And you just got to hope that the people buying them are also going to pay the taxes. And that doesn't always happen, but you know, it is what it is. Unless there are any questions on the board, we can go to the next one, which is county administration. So the budget includes a 2.5% increase for the salaries for the second half of the year, just like everybody else. One of the big changes is the salary for the general services director has been relocated to the building maintenance budget. So Brandy's position 1112, that funding is pulled out. I have to bump telephone expenses by $1,000, and overall we're showing the decrease, and again that's because of moving that budget and shifting it over to general services and building maintenance. The only other thing I wanted to point out, I have asked for an additional step for Emily. I think Emily does an outstanding job. In 38, she makes significantly less than her predecessor. Of course, the predecessor had 30 years of time, but Emily is on top of things. I wanted to recognize her for that.
She's our FOIA officer also.
She's FOIA officer. She handles the website now. She's taken on some additional duties, and she handles the Facebook page, things like that.
Is she the deputy clerk of board?
Yes. Yes, sir. Any questions on that stuff? Next budget is reassessment. Reassessment, we budget basically pretty much a level amount every year. I will say, this one, costs have gone up a little, as they always do, costs continue to go up. We'll spend probably in the neighborhood, $500,000 plus on the reassessment. Now, here's a great example of why you need to do the reassessment and keep it. You want to be as close to 100% value as you can, because I think this year we hit close to, our sales ratio was right around 90%, meaning when a house or property sold, on average, the assessment was 90% of what the sales price was. It's a difference of about 10%. Well, just our biggest taxpayers, unfortunately, a couple of them are things like Dominion Power, not only for the power lines, but the power plant. The power plant alone, which is paying over $450,000 a year in taxes, part of their what they pay is based on the sales ratio. So if you take 10% off their $4.5 million, there's $450,000 in 1 year that Jude County loses. So you want to keep that sales ratio as close to 100% as you can. I think with the new reassessment, they were looking at right around 101%, which is they would pay a full value. So we probably will have to bump this $135,000 request up, but basically the 4 years of 135 provides a little over $500,000 to be able to fund the next reassessment. So the next one, we would start in, I think, middle of 2021. It would take effect in January 1 of 2023, based on the current schedule. If for some reason things went too crazy and sales were going, you might have to speed things up a year. You can do it in 2 years. Some counties have in-house staff and do it every year. Some do 2, some do 3, 4 years. That you have to do it every 6 by law. So we've elected in the last, I think, 4 times we've done a 4-year cycle. Next budget is non-departmental. First line item there is hospital medical insurance for our retirees. That was a benefit the county offered up to maybe the Great Recession, around 2011, 12 or so. We eliminated that. But if you had retired with us for more than 20 years of service, we would pick up your employee-only health insurance share up until you hit Medicare age. So 65. 65. And we have a number of people on there. Every year we have some, typically 1 or 2 come off, 1 or 2 get added. The ones that stay on there the longest are usually law enforcement who, under Leo's, can retire much earlier, say at 50. 25 years of service.
And if they get other insurance when it's supposed to come off?
I think the way the policy is now, yes. That wasn't the case years ago.
That would be for everybody who comes on?
Talking about grandfather. So the people were grandfathered before the program was cut.
So is it 20 or 25? Yes.
25, 15, 20. So if you're retired 20 years, you get 100%. At 15 years, it's 75%. 10 years, it's 50% coverage.
I'm going off that then, rehires.
Not since, like I said, 11. It was not too long after you came on, right?
About 2 years up, correct?
Yeah. Let's see. Maintenance of central computer improvements, central copier, our maintenance of the school system. Those are all this computer stuff. 34522 corridor payment. That's actually that's the money we transfer over to the town, which represents 30% of the meals tax collected, 5%, the original 2% of the lodging tax. We've got revenue from rental of property and health and human services. Basically, it comes into us and we repay special projects. That's for the health department, social services, our trolley contribution of $25,000. The tourism budget, which is the other 3 cents of the occupancy tax. And then reserve for contingencies. That's our kind of our rainy day fund within the budget. And the current year we had $136,299. We've got $200,000 in the proposed budget for that. Next section is capital outlay. This is basically capital improvements line. Pretty much, for the most part, everything is status quo. We've got, I think some of the big things, obviously, revenue sharing. We've tried to add 50,000. Usually every year we end up cutting that back out, but we've tried to bump revenue sharing up to 300,000. Juvenile detention facility, we say 32,000 next year. Our usage has been down. That's a rolling 3-year average there. Rivermont Fire Department, we know we've got to increase the amount for our debt service. Once we do get a permanent bond in place, we've bumped that from 160 to 200. A lot of these other bond amounts are either, like the courthouse bond, some of those fluctuate. Andre gives us those totals based on the debt service schedule. We've had to bump the communications equipment loan up a little bit. We've got 25,000 down for senior center. At some point, we're hoping to be able to renovate part of the Health and Human Services. If we can find some grant money, we're assuming that we may have to do some architectural engineering up front to be able to do that.
What would happen to the old senior center?
CCAP really wants to move into that building.
CCAP is horrible.
Yeah, they're in the basement there in St. Louis
You
Clinic.
need to build.
The building,
No,
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 I meant the building. I'm sorry, CCAP has done a wonderful job living in that hole they live in.
The next page, we've had to bump the substitute receiving facility. We're now getting 100%. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you got rid of the money last time. And what about, what's the 25 for the soccer fields?
We've got, I think,
Money
part,
Parks and Rec?
they've got some money there, and we've been paying off the lighting and stuff for that project. We've just about finished all the capital improvements to the soccer complex that come out of the capital budget, haven't come out per se of their budget. The page 2, like I said, health and human septage, we've had to bump the debt service up now that we're paying our debt to the town. The new annual debt service is $126,500. We also increased our septage rate, so that should offset most of that increased cost. Thompson Kiss and Ride, we've paved, we built the shelter. The last thing we got to do, we got to put the parking lot lights up. That's why we left $15,000 in the budget there.
Maybe you covered already. The Dominion water payment, that starts 2021.
No, sir, you missed that discussion. We had,
Oh, yeah.
it starts August of 2020, so that's the 2021 budget.
Right.
And so we'll have to come up with, I don't know if it's semi-annual or annual payment, but $1 million that fiscal year starting in 2021.
That was the max. Do you know what the actual is?
I think it's going to be $1 million.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Going back to the Thompson Kiss and Ride, is the conduits in for the lighting? Or is
Yes,
it-
sir.
is that-
Conduits were put in. We built it. Bob was in charge of building and constructing the parking lot.
So it's just a matter of setting the post.
Pouring the concrete bases and
Yeah, okay.
Yep. The amounts there for Health and Human Services, 50, and the rest, the 100. Those amounts actually will go towards, we're going to finance, hopefully maybe through VRA or bank loan, finance those projects. That's where that money will be allocated. And possibly the voter registrar area too. Down there. Any other questions?
Well, Rusty sure does look good.
Looks a lot better.
Yes.
The facelift helped.
Before you leave capital, Doug, I just mentioned you tried to bump that revenue sharing up by 50,000. We've been trying to do that every year, but as you remind the board, I've got one project in General Farms coming up in the next year worth $1 million. Plus, you've heard Ed Carter say in the last couple reports to the board, he's got about 5 or 6 rural rustics that are being funded primarily through revenue sharing. So just keep that in the back of your mind.
We should see a lot of construction this year on road projects. Bob, you're looking to build what, Tomahawk and
Tomahawk.
maybe get started on Old Oak if we.
Up in, I'm trying to get that small portion of that done. We're funding internal through the budget.
But those revenue sharing projects actually become cost avoidance for us.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because once the state takes them over,
finance?
Finance is 11.
It says 13.5% increase, but it's really not. It's the my old position, the deputy finance director. To help balance the budget, we cut it back for 6 months this past fiscal year. So this would be full implementation of it, put it back. Besides that, the full implementation of the 2.5% and then the health insurance increase. Other than that, everything is flat. And then CSA. 0.09, that's just the other 2.5% of Jeannie's salary. Everything else is flat, and it's been a 10% increase.
You have in there for an assistant for Jeannie, to do your thing.
Yeah, well, it's not here yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, we're starting to advertise for it now. We got some money here with a special part of it.
One of the things we're looking at doing is getting somebody there. You know, we're still looking at move Jeannie over to where the registrar is currently located. She's in, like, quote unquote, the loading dock right now.
She's in the loading dock.
That would provide a little conference room to be able to meet with clients there at the registrar's office. But to have somebody there that could basically be a receptionist part-time. But the other thing is to be able to assist with the assistant county attorney. We're possibly taking on some DSS legal responsibilities, and that person would be able to help pick up with some of that as well. But just it would be a part-time position right now.
We're going to be lost when Jeannie gets out.
Well, I think that's kind of the goal too, is to get somebody to understand, especially the building coding part of Jeannie's job, and being able to make sure that the paperwork goes where it needs to go. And share a little bit of Jeannie's knowledge while she's here for the next few years.
Any questions for Andre?
If y'all want to take a couple-minute break, I just texted David to see if he would come on down.